Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Come and join the PLZ family. I'm Peter Martin, Tam McManus with me on this Thursday. Delighted that you could join us. Hopefully you're enjoying all our content across all our social media platforms, and over and above that, thank you to so many of you for downloading the podcast on all those podcast platforms as well. Lots to talk about in the show, sponsored by Cameron Commercials. If you're looking for a quality new and used van, hit CameronCommercials.com and Sean's your man to help you out for your business. What about the headlines? Time for the old guard to honour the winners of the title. Will there be a guard of honour for Hearts if they were winning the title on that final day at Celtic Park? Ryan Stevenson thinks so. Well, we'll see what Tam agrees with him. Will firepower be the key to this season's title? Is there someone in the front line for Hearts and Celtic that can fire them to title glory? What does the future hold for players without clubs? And we'll get Tam's take on how some players who are hanging up their boots will find it difficult to readjust. And it's Arsenal versus PSG in the Champions League final. We'll get the thoughts of Tam and myself and you as well on what you think is going to happen on 30th of May in Budapest. Our quiz, which is in line with the Champions League once again, thanks to Elite Joinery and Fire Protection. This is the quiz question. Which team did Paris Saint-Germain defeat in last year's Champions League final? We've given you an option this time. Is it Manchester City? Is it Real Madrid? Is it Inter Milan or Borussia Dortmund? We'll give you the answer at the end of the programme. So, guard of honour if they win the league. Should Hearts get one from Celtic on the final day, Tam? Are you buying into it? Ryan Stevenson's cranking it up, isn't he?
I think a lot of people would say yes. I think that's the normal thing to do. Obviously, it's not happened in recent Old Firm games with Celtic and Rangers. I don't know if there'd be a softening of that in terms of Celtic and Hearts. It remains to be seen. Obviously, there's a lot of water to cross under the bridge before then, but I'm not sure the Celtic supporters would be too enamoured with giving Hearts a guard of honour. It will be down to the club at the end of the day. It will be down to Martin and Tam and the club and the players.
What about sporting integrity, Tam? Does that still exist?
No.
Did it ever exist?
No, I don't think it does. I think if it was maybe because it's not Rangers that Celtic might actually do it, but it remains to be seen.
Yeah, it's a strange situation. Is it because of the nature of our country?
Yes, I think rivalry runs deep in this country. I don't think it's as bad with Celtic and Hearts than it would be with Celtic and Rangers. Whether they've got that kind of respect for Hearts and they acknowledge a fantastic season and they give them a guard of honour, I don't know. But
I see quite a lot of guards of honour in the English Premier League from time to time.
I don't think there's the same. I don't want to use the word hatred, but there's not the same intensity. I don't think in England in terms of the rivals than there is up here.
Yeah.
Celtic, Rangers, Hearts, Hibs. There's a real edge to those games. So I don't think it's the same in England, Peter. So I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure if Celtic would do it, but it would come down to the club, Martin and Tam and the players, if it comes down to that. But there's a lot of football to be played. Yeah,
it's one of those arguments every season. We always get it. I don't think it really. I don't think it really matters. I think it's a nice touch. I think it's a nice bit of sporting integrity. And if Hearts were to indeed win the league before it gets to that final game, I think it might be a wee bit of a touch of class as well. But as far as the season goes and the way things are going at the moment, I think Ryan is howling at the moon. With this one, I'm not too sure that too many Celtic fans would agree with him for a guard of honour. They'll be hoping, to be honest with you, Tam, that Hearts are coming there and somebody needs to win the game to win the title.
Yeah, that's what the Celtic supporters are craving. They want to get down to that last game. They know if it comes down to it and Hearts are 1 or 2 points ahead of them and Celtic got an opportunity, they would all sign up for it right now. Celtic winning that game to win the league. Hearts don't want it to get that far. Absolutely not. The supporters, I don't think I've been through the mill this season. Obviously, we've been top most of the season. For them to have to go to Parkhead and get a result is a big ask. When Celtic have got a sniff of winning the title, so they'll be hoping that they do the business in the next couple of games.
Having spoken to Derek last week, he's well aware. They're well prepared for that. I think that's where it's going, Tam. I think it's down to the last game.
Yeah, I think that's what we all want. We all want it to go to the last game. I think the sponsors, Sky, every supporter wants to see it going down to that last game. Bar the Hearts supporters, they want it tied up before then, because they don't want more last day heartache as they had in 1986. So we all wanted to go down to the last game. Will it? I don't know, but I think a lot of Celtic supporters would sign up for that right now. An opportunity, just a chance to go and win it in the last day.
I don't think too many people have discussed it at the moment. We've probably just kind of brushed upon the subject, Tam, but I might as well ask you, it's so extreme now because it's a two-horse race and it's Celtic and Hearts. There is two extremes of emotion about to face Hearts fans, the Hearts Football Club, the players, the manager, everybody. And it's quite simply this. To win the title, elation, generations of people crying in the streets, unbelievable, celebrations, hysteria, the lot, the bus going down, the whole of Edinburgh coming to a standstill, legendary status, and of course that situation where they will be treated as gods for the next 30, 40 years if they win the league. That's the one thing that's on offer, immortality for these players, the club, the manager, everything.
Yeah, and it's something that probably if I put myself in the shoes of the Hearts players at the minute, you don't really want to think about that at the minute because it would just make you more nervous. I mean, they're just concentrating game by game. I think Derek's managed it perfectly. It's been a game by game process, and they know if they win the next two games, they're probably likely to be champions. So they'll all they've got to do is try and win those next two games.
Yeah, for the fans, I mean, as you know, for the fans, I mean, it's just incredible. I know for the marketing department it'll be the absolute godsend, but for the fans to actually, generations that have never ever come close to it, some of them have witnessed heartache, the feeling of winning the title would be unbelievable.
Yeah, I think it would be, Peter. There's still an older generation scarred by the Dens Park, Albert Kidd game. They were probably, most of them were at the game thinking, a point was going to win them the league. And it's been, 40 years since then. It's a long time, and there's still a lot of Hearts supporters. I know a lot, and I speak to them, who refuse to, until it's done, it's done. They don't want to think about it because of that heartache and those scars of 40 years ago. So if Hearts do it, it'd be one of the biggest achievements in their history. And one of the biggest achievements, I think, in Scottish football, domestic history. A club like that, with coming up against two giants with massive budgets and going and toppling them. I know people will say, Celtic have been rotten this season, Rangers have been rotten, but I don't think you can say that. I think this Hearts team, if they do win it, will deserve to win it. They've been top for most of the season.
Where does it rank as far as the last team to do it was Fergie's Aberdeen? Where does Derek McInnes rank in the status if he were to pull this off, when you consider the difference in spending power now for Celtic and Rangers and the Celtic and Rangers that Fergie was able to overcome on 3 occasions?
I think it would be the biggest in Scottish football domestic history. I'm not talking about obviously Celtic winning European Cups and Rangers winning Cup Winners' Cups and Aberdeen winning a Cup Winners' Cup. I'm talking domestically. I think when you look at the chasm, the gap between Celtic and Rangers and the rest, it's been unthinkable. My generation, I can't remember 86, I was only 5, but in the last 10, 15, 20 years, anyone toppling Celtic or Rangers winning the league, I thought it was impossible. I really did, and I'm sure a lot of people thought that was impossible as well. So for Hearts to be within touching distance of doing it would be, I think, the greatest achievement in Scottish domestic history. I think it's the biggest achievement. It's bigger than Alex Ferguson and Dundee, Aberdeen and Dundee United and Jim McLean, where you're right, there wasn't a massive gap between wages. I think you're looking at Celtic and Rangers just now paying 25, 30, 35 grand a week. Hearts maybe paying a quarter, fifth of that. I just think it would be an unbelievable achievement.
The flip side of this, and we've got to talk about it, the pain, it's unthinkable. Right now, I know we joke about it because obviously you as a former Hibs player, you don't want to see yourself in a full Hearts kit, first of all, but you don't want to see them win it. But the pain, I think, will be unbearable, Tam, if they don't win this title. That's the flip side of it all. Pain for the supporters. Derek McInnes has mentioned time and again, we don't want a pat in the head just for running it close. It would be the darkest day.
Yeah, I think it would be. It's going to be up there with the last day at Dens Park. And I spoke to Martin Geisler last week, and I've seen him speaking today on social media, and he's just said he can't think of anything else. It's consuming him just because he was there as a 15-year-old at Dens Park crying his heart out, and just to think they're so close to doing it again, to winning it. And there's guys probably thinking, you know, I can't get through this. I can't get through the pain of blowing it maybe in the last day against Celtic. So it's going to be absolute euphoria. It's going to be the best day in people's lives, or it's going to be the worst day. So it's an enormous next 3 games for Hearts, because you're right. You know, you look at, there's going to be a parade down at Gorgie.
Yep.
You know, there's going to be build a statue of Derek McInnes outside to get the ground, and there'll be Hearts supporters of a vintage who've never seen them win the league, or it's going to be complete heartache and, you know, never want to go and watch another game of football. So it's, I want to say do or die, but it's no far off it.
It's not far off it for some people, Tam. I don't want to dwell on that, because obviously amazingly, it was the first day I had moved to Edinburgh. It was my first day living in Edinburgh.
Hearts lost the league.
Hearts lost the league, and there were a lot of people who were absolutely gutted. I'll never forget that city and that day. Obviously, because the hysteria around Paisley at Love Street, with Celtic scoring 5, and some of the goals they scored were out of this world. And then, you know, the flip side of it is, I think some people thought Walter Kidd had scored, and it was Albert Kidd who'd scored. So, you know, it's traumatic for fans, and I totally get it. But to get there, I think the key, and I've tipped Hearts since the start of the year, Shankland and Braga is the key. 18 goals for Shankland, 17 goals for Braga. He's the player of the year. They've got the manager of the year, but it's the firepower that I think is the key to this.
Yeah, I think Lawrence Shankland, getting him back into the team over the last few weeks has been massive for them. I think he's a terrific player. I've always liked him. I'm really surprised that Rangers never bought him in the summer. He was available for nothing. And I look at the strikers that Rangers have got, none of them can touch him in terms of finishing. And so I think he's going to be the key. Braga as well. I think the last 2 games has got to give everyone confidence. We're sitting here going, they've got to play Hibs away, they've got to play Rangers. You know, they're not winning 2 games, they've won them. So I think if you're a Hearts player, you're thinking, right, we've got through the hardest part. I think now we're 2 games away, probably if we win in the league. There's going to be a massive away support at Fir Park on Saturday night as well, 8 o'clock kick-off. You know, it's a great time, I think, as well for supporters, particularly Hearts fans. A few of them having a few bevies during the day, but yeah, it's a huge game. Motherwell have got the best defensive record at home this season as well in the league. A contrasting styles, I think. I think Motherwell want to obviously try and play football at all times. Hearts can mix it up, they can play or they can go direct. So it's going to be a fascinating game. And
the other thing about it, which is a damning indictment on this season for Celtic and Rangers, it's Chermiti with 12 goals, Tavernier 13, Miofsky with 13. Celtic's top goal scorer is Nygren with 20. Maeda on 12, Yang on 9, Iheanacho on 7. That tells its own story.
Yeah, and you've got Braga and Shankland who've obviously chipped in a number of goals for Hearts. So yeah, I think that's where Celtic and Rangers have really struggled this season, is in the final third, and that's very unusual from my lifetime. Celtic and Rangers have always had quality in the final third, whether that's wingers, strikers, guys scoring 25, 30 goals. And it's, again, I don't want to dwell on it, but it's unusual for both in the same season to have really struggled in front of goal. So Hearts are going to look like they're going to go and take advantage of that.
Couple of points before we finish, Tam. Champions League, it's now PSG versus Arsenal. I was hoping it was going to be 6-5 again in that match. Didn't quite materialise. Bayern Munich just fall at that final hurdle, and they won't take their place in the final. But PSG, when I look at it right now, Gyökeres, Eze, Saka, Rice, and then Dembele, Doué, Kvaratskhelia and Vitinha. I mean, that's just the cream on the cake here of the 2 teams. What a final it's going to be.
Yeah, it was a really great game last night. I think the first goal was Champions League quality all over. Kvaratskhelia going wide, cuts it back, and I think the boy Doué comes in at the far post and finishes it. So it was a magnificent goal. And from there, you think this is going to be another 6-5, but I thought PSG deserved it. I thought on the night they were the better side.
Yeah.
I thought they created the more opportunities, and it sets up for a great final and an opportunity for Luis Enriquez to go and win another Champions League.
I can't see Arsenal beating them.
Nah, I think PSG are the best team. I think that was the final for me. I think PSG will win that.
And just as a footnote, Tam, and some people will not be thinking about it right now, I know the PFA Scotland and Fraser Wishart certainly and all the team that work there will be at this point working tirelessly to try and help players, because there are some players who will be looking at it and saying there's 3 games to go and then I'm wondering where I'm going. It's the cream that are sought after by clubs who can enjoy a summer. But there's an uncertainty for a lot of players who wonder where they're going, and I think that sometimes gets lost.
Yeah, I've been in that position myself, Peter, where you finish the season and you're out of contract and maybe you've not been offered a new contract by the club that you were at. And then you think to yourself, right, what am I going to do now? I just need to wait, keep myself fit. And the older you get, the harder it gets. You know, if you're 30, 31, 32, 34, 35 and you're thinking, right, I've still got another year or 2 in me, the phone doesn't ring as much as when you're 22, 23. So I know the PFA are trying to retrain people. I think they put workshops on to try and get people into, whether that's joinery, whether that's a barber, you know, just different things to go into when you finish playing, because it is a short career and only the 1 or 2% can retire. There's a friend of mine, Pitch to Placements, Alan McFadden. I'll give his company a wee boost. He's going into clubs just now. He was in at Tannadice last week. I think he's been in at Hibs, and his company retrains people who retire and to go into sales, whether that's different departments of sales, but they goes into and they can get another vocation but for the next 30 years of their life. So it's businesses like that, people like that, who are doing good jobs in terms of trying to find people, you know, work after they finish playing. It's
more prominent now because so many people thought, oh, I'll do coaching or I'll become a pundit, and and it's just not as easy as that. The other aspect of it as well, psychological, Tam, is a lot of people find it very, and I speak to a lot of players, including yourself on this, a lot of players find it difficult once the dressing room is no longer there for them. The camaraderie, it's something that they miss. It's almost like a feeling of cold turkey.
Yeah, that was the thing I missed most, Peter, when I finished playing, was waking up, going into the dressing room and there's 20, 25 guys and it's all the patter, it's all the banter, and you go out and train together, and a Saturday try to win together, and all of a sudden that's gone. You're sitting in the house yourself and you're going, I need to go and get a job. And people will have sympathy with that, and people won't have sympathy with it, because people will go, well, everybody else has got to work till they're 60, 70, so yeah, why should you be any different? I get that argument as well, but I think it's difficult when you've been tied into the same line of work, which finishes basically when you're 35, 36, or maybe a wee bit younger or older, when you've got to go and do something else, maybe completely different. And you're right, there's only so many coaching jobs in Scotland, there's only so many pundit jobs, and you maybe need to go in and do something else. So, you know, I have got sympathy for young and old players who maybe go to retire and go and do something else. But I'm glad there is starting to be more help out there for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned your friend on this, and the PFA do some great work as well to try and help people find an alternative career if they do not remain in the sport of football. We'll probably spend more time on that and give it greater insight from a number of players in one of our programmes coming up over the summer. But nevertheless, let's finish on the quiz, courtesy of Elite Joinery and Fire Protection. You can get on to the Elite website and find out exactly how they can protect your business as well. But there was the quiz question. Do you remember the answer?
It was a tanking when it was into Milan.
Oh,
5-0.
5-0. I mean, they absolutely gave them a doing, and they were sensational.
Has there been teams who've won it back to back, the Champions League? Maybe the great Barcelona teams?
Yeah, I think winning it back to back, I seem to remember.
Not many.
I think AC Milan might have done it. There's not many win it back to back. Real Madrid obviously as well. But this side is special. They've certainly got pace, they've got creativity, they've got youth on their side as well. 19 and 20-year-olds scoring goals. Absolutely sensational. And Luis Enrique, I think, has etched himself into the history books with the way he's transformed them from.
Since they get rid of Mbappe.
Well, I was going to say, since they get rid of the Galacticos, Neymar and Messi gone, Mbappe gone, suddenly they're Champions League winners. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the show, hope you've enjoyed what we've got. But just before we go, I want to show you this video. If you go onto PLZ Soccer's homepage on our YouTube channel, you'll be able to click on the link, because we've got a fabulous competition which Ruffy's voice is going to tell you about now in Lucky Tiger.
Here's your chance to win the Scotland World Cup experience with Lucky Tiger. You and a guest could be heading to the USA to follow Scotland, with tickets for all 3 group games, flights, 14 nights accommodation and £1,000 spending money included. Entries are £5. The live draw takes place on Lucky Tigers channel on May 24th. Click the link now to enter and read the full terms and conditions. Good luck.
Enter now.
Absolutely fantastic. He's Ronald Villiers, isn't he?
Nobody will know how many takes that took to go through, because we were sitting here for about 20 minutes. But
Yeah.
aye, fair dues, Ruffy. He got it in the end. But what a prize that is. That's one of the best competition prizes I've ever seen. That would be fantastic for any supporter.
Absolutely. Get onto our homepage, click on the link and get in the prize draw for that. Thanks to Tam for today. Don't forget to download our app. You've got all the breaking news at your fingertips from myself, Peter Martin. Thank you for listening and watching.